Have you ever noticed how the world feels different, though nothing has changed? The sky above is the same. The streets you walk are the same. Yet, beneath the surface, something unseen stirs, as if the air itself is whispering a truth you were never meant to forget. This is the beginning of your awakening, and it rarely arrives with fanfare. It comes quietly, almost invisibly, like a fracture in glass so fine you barely notice it, until suddenly, the entire window of your reality begins to crack open. At first, you question yourself. You wonder if you're imagining it. The way conversations feel heavier, as if people are speaking without depth, their words echoing like shadows. You sense the hollowness in the routines that once defined you. A career, a relationship, the goals society told you to pursue, all of it begins to feel paper, thin. This is not depression, not a failure. It is the collapse of an illusion you were never meant to live inside forever. And though no one tells you this, the unraveling of false meaning is the first sign that you are touching the truth. The ancient mystics called this moment a tearing of the veil. Neuroscientists might describe it as a disruption of your brain's predictive coding. The way your mind constantly filters reality to make it comfortable, safe, expected. But now the filter is weakening. You see with raw eyes. And what you see is unsettling, because for the first time, you are beginning to realize that you are more than the character you play in the story. You are not only the mask, you are the vast awareness behind it. And that recognition is both liberating and terrifying. Here is the hidden truth. No one tells you awakening does not begin with light. It begins with a fracture. It begins with the dismantling of the lies you were born into. Lies so deep you didn't know they were lies at all. Lies like, you are your achievements, you are your body, you are your failures, you are your past. When these illusions begin to collapse, your life can feel like chaos. But in truth, it is the soil breaking apart to allow a seed to breathe. Pause for a moment. Feel that within yourself. Notice the quiet ways your own life has already been breaking open. The restless thoughts that tell you, there must be more than this. The unease when you see people chasing distractions, while a deeper question gnaws at your soul. The nights where you stare at the ceiling, not with despair, but with a strange curiosity. A yearning to know what you are really here for. These are not accidents. They are signals, invitations, initiations. Quantum physics tells us that reality is not solid, that beneath the world you touch lies a field of infinite probabilities. Your awakening is the moment you begin to sense this field. To feel, without proof, that life is not merely mechanical, but alive with intelligence. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very attention are not passive. They are participants in the dance of existence. And when you realize this, everything you once believed about being powerless begins to crumble. But the first stage of awakening often feels like loss. Loss of identity, loss of certainty, loss of belonging. That is why no one talks about it, because it is easier to sell the dream of instant enlightenment than to face the reality of sacred deconstruction. Yet this deconstruction is the most important initiation of your life. It is the threshold you must cross before stepping into the fullness of your being. So let the ground shake beneath you. Let the stories fall apart. Do not cling to the walls as they crumble, because this is not the end of who you are. It is the end of who you are not. After the first fracture, there comes a silence. A void so deep it unsettles every part of you. This is the part of awakening that no one prepares you for. You have not yet stepped into the light. You are suspended in the in-between, where nothing feels stable, nothing feels certain. It is as if the ground beneath you has dissolved, yet the new earth has not yet formed. You are neither who you were, nor who you are becoming. you exist in the raw space between. At first, this void terrifies you. Your mind searches for old anchors, routines, beliefs, the comfort of familiar illusions. But they no longer fit. They slip through your fingers like sand. And so you wander, restless, caught in the paradox of being both lost and found at the same time. This is the dark night of the soul, and it is not punishment, it is preparation. Because only by standing in nothingness can you discover what is eternal. Modern neuroscience might call this a reorganization of your brain's neural networks, the pruning of pathways that no longer serve you, so that new ones may form. The mystics of old described it as death before rebirth. In truth, it is both. Your mind is dissolving, making way for a wider consciousness to emerge. This is why you may feel exhausted, detached, or even as if you no longer recognize yourself. You are not broken. You are being rewritten. The hidden truth is that awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you have always been, beneath the layers of programming. But before you can remember, you must forget. Forget the lies. Forget the masks. Forget the voice that whispers you are not enough. This forgetting feels like emptiness. But emptiness is sacred. It is the womb of possibility, the space in which the quantum field begins to respond to your awareness. Do not mistake this silence for failure. Do not fear the pause between identities. This void is a holy interval. The stillness between breaths, the space between heartbeats. And within it, you are closest to the infinite. You begin to sense that everything you lost was never truly yours. What remains is what cannot be taken. The eternal presence of your own awareness. If you find yourself in this space now, honor it. Do not rush. Do not fill it with distractions. Sit in the discomfort until it transforms into stillness. Because in this stillness, the first whispers of your true self will reach you. They come not as thunder, but as a gentle nudge, an intuition, a synchronicity, a moment of knowing that cannot be explained. These are the first sparks of remembrance. Follow them. Trust them. They are guiding you back to yourself. And if this resonates with you, share coincidences that are too precise to ignore. A presence within you that quietly whispers, "You are not lost. You are remembering." This is the second hidden truth of awakening. What feels like chaos is actually alignment, rearranging your life to reveal what has always been waiting beneath the surface. You begin to experience synchronicities, numbers that repeat, a thought that manifests in the physical world, a chance encounter that feels like destiny. These moments are not accidents. They are the language of the field, the universe responding to your new vibration. Neuroscientists might call it the reticular activating system. Your brain learning to filter reality differently, noticing patterns it once dismissed. Mystics call it divine orchestration. Both are true. For the first time, you sense that reality itself is listening, and this changes everything. Because the story you were told, that you are separate, powerless, a mere bystander in a mechanical world, begins to unravel. You realize your thoughts are not isolated events inside your head. They ripple outward, influencing the field of probabilities around you. Quantum physics has hinted at this for decades. Particles exist in a state of potential until observed, until consciousness touches them. In this same way, your attention shapes the possibilities of your life. What you look at begins to move. What you believe begins to breathe. But here lies a danger few will warn you of. Once you glimpse this truth, your ego wants to claim it. It whispers, "I can manifest anything. I can control reality." Yet the universe does not bend to control. It responds to resonance. If your mind is rooted in fear, in desperation, in lack, then those vibrations will echo back to you, no matter how many words you speak. Awakening is not about power over reality. It is about harmony with it. It is about learning to tune yourself to the deeper frequency of truth and letting reality echo that tone. So as the glimmers of the infinite appear, remain humble. Do not rush to turn the mystery into a formula. Let the synchronicities be sacred. Let the signs be whispers, not commands. They are guiding you gently, teaching you to trust that you are not separate from life, but woven into its very fabric. And with each moment of surrender, the glimmers grow brighter. The dawn of your true awareness begins to rise. Pause here. Breathe. Imagine the infinite as a vast ocean, and you as a single drop returning to it. You are not losing yourself. You are rediscovering that you were never separate from the ocean to begin with. As the glimmers of the infinite grow stronger, something else begins to happen, something far less comfortable. The structures of your old self start to break apart, not gently, but violently, as though life itself is tearing away what no longer belongs. Friendships begin to dissolve. Careers feel meaningless. Habits that once defined you now feel heavy, suffocating, impossible to carry forward. This is the hidden cost of awakening. You cannot keep the old identity. It must die so that the truth within you can live. At first, you resist. You cling to the familiar because it feels safe, even as it empties you. You try to hold on to people, roles, and patterns that once gave you belonging. But awakening is merciless with illusions. It will strip from you anything not aligned with who you are becoming. And though it feels like loss, though it feels cruel, it is not punishment, it is purification, like fire burning away what is false so that only gold remains. This process is not abstract, it is visceral. You may feel isolated, as if no one understands you anymore. You may look around at the world and see people laughing, living as if nothing is wrong, while inside you feel as though your life has been set on fire. This is because you are living on two frequencies at once. One foot in the old world of illusion, the other in the new field of truth. The pull between them can feel unbearable, but it is also the tension that breaks you open. Psychology might describe this as ego dissolution, the collapse of the persona that once mediated between you and the world. Mystics describe it as spiritual death. Both point to the same reality: you are being asked to release who you thought you were, so that who you truly are can emerge. And this release is not gentle, because the ego will fight for its life. It will feed you fear, whisper that you are losing everything, convince you that you are making a mistake. But understand this: the ego's fear is proof that transformation is real. And here is the secret few dare to say: the disintegration of your old self is supposed to feel like madness. It is supposed to feel unbearable, because only when every escape is gone do you finally face the silence of your true being. This breaking is the passageway. It is the tearing of the cocoon that allows the wings to spread. Without it, you would remain forever trapped in what you have outgrown. So let it fall apart. Let the friendships fade, the roles dissolve, the masks slip away. Do not chase them. Do not bargain. Instead, stand in the fire and let it burn through you. Because what remains after the fire is not emptiness. It is the indestructible core of your being. The part of you that was never afraid, never broken, never small. The part that has been waiting for this moment all along. When the old self has burned away, you are left standing in the ashes of what you once were. It feels quiet, unfamiliar, as though the world has been reset, and in that stillness, something extraordinary begins: the slow emergence of your higher self. Not a new identity layered on top of the old, but a deeper essence rising from within. The self that has always been here, waiting for the noise to clear. At first, this integration feels subtle, fragile, like a whisper you can barely hear. You sense it in moments of stillness, when intuition cuts through louder than logic, when your heart pulls you toward a path that makes no sense on paper, yet feels profoundly true. It is the voice you silenced for years, now returning with clarity. It does not shout. It does not force. It simply is. And when you trust it, reality begins to move around you in ways you could never plan. This is the paradox. Your higher self does not add more to you. It strips you bare. It does not inflate your ego with superiority. It humbles you into alignment. You begin to realize that the power you sought outside, in achievements, approval, validation, was only a shadow of the power already within. True power is not about control. It is about coherence. It is about living so aligned with your inner truth that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Neuroscience suggests that as you integrate, your brain shifts into greater harmony between hemispheres. Logic and intuition, reason and creativity. Mystics have long described this as the union of dualities, the marriage of the inner masculine and feminine, the merging of mind and soul. Call it what you will, the experience is undeniable. You no longer feel split against yourself. For the first time, you feel whole. And yet, integration is not instant. It unfolds in layers, like dawn slowly illuminating the landscape. Old patterns still echo. Doubt still whispers. But each time you choose to trust the deeper voice instead of the old noise, you weave another thread of coherence. You learn to live in resonance rather than resistance. And as this grows, something miraculous begins to happen. The outside world responds differently. You attract people, opportunities, and synchronicities that mirror your new frequency. It feels like magic, but it is not magic. It is alignment. The hidden truth is this: awakening is not about escaping your humanity. It is about embodying your divinity through your humanity. The higher self does not replace the human self. It transforms it, weaving soul into flesh, eternity into time. You become a bridge between worlds. You walk as both the drop and the ocean, both the wave and the vastness it arises from. Pause here. Feel this within you. Notice how many times in your life you have already heard the whisper of your higher self. In a decision, in a dream, in a moment of knowing you couldn't explain. These were not accidents. They were fragments of truth breaking through. Now, you are learning to live from that place, fully, consciously, unapologetically. As your higher self integrates, you begin to notice something strangey. You are not awakening alone. The same pulse that cracked you open is stirring in countless others across the world. You feel it in conversations where someone suddenly speaks with depth they never had before. You sense it in the quiet unrest of societies, in the collapse of old systems that no longer serve, in the growing hunger for meaning that no material success can satisfy. What you once thought was a solitary journey reveals itself as part of a larger symphony. The collective awakening of consciousness. This is why your path feels so heavy at times. Because you are not only carrying your birth contractions, they are the same sacred disintegration you experienced within yourself, mirrored on a planetary scale. Quantum science gives us a language for this. Just as particles influence one another across vast distances through entanglement, your awakening is entangled with the awakening of others. Every shift in your consciousness ripples into the collective field, subtly altering what is possible for all of us. When you raise your frequency, you do not rise alone. You lift the grid itself. Even if no one ever knows your name, this is why it matters that you stay the course. Even when it feels unbearable, even when you wonder if you are lost, you are not only transforming yourself, you are anchoring light for others. Your courage to stand in the fire gives permission for others to step into theirs. And together, without speeches, without titles, without recognition, you begin to rewrite the hidden architecture of reality. But this is also why awakening can feel isolating, because the world around you may not yet reflect the truth you carry. You may see people still clinging to illusions, defending the very cages they live in, and your instinct may be to shake them awake, to tell them what you see. But here lies another hidden truth: you cannot awaken anyone. You can only embody your awakening so fully that it becomes undeniable. Your presence speaks louder than words. Your resonance does what persuasion never can. Pause here. Feel the immensity of that. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are a thread in the great tapestry of humanity, and every time you choose alignment, love, and truth, you strengthen the weave of the whole. And though you may never see the full impact of your choice, know this: the collective pulse is rising, and you are part of its rhythm. When you awaken, you do not leave the old world behind. You still walk its streets. You still work within its systems. You still sit across from people who are asleep to what you now see. And this is perhaps the most difficult part of awakenings: learning to live in two worlds at once. One is built on fear, competition, and illusion. The other is born from resonance, truth, and infinite possibility. You must walk both, but you must never forget which one is real. At first, this feels like a double life. You go to work, pay bills, sit in conversations that feel shallow, and yet, underneath, you are aware of the vast ocean of consciousness flowing through everything. You sense the unseen patterns weaving your experiences together. You know that the arguments, the fears, the dramas are just ripples on the surface. But you also know you cannot force others to see what you see. You must hold your truth quietly, living it instead of preaching it. This balancing act is where many falter. Some retreat completely, withdrawing from the world in search of purity, only to discover that isolation starves the very purpose of awakening. Others drown in the old world's noise, abandoning the whisper of their higher self until it fades into silence. But the true path is neither retreat nor surrender. It is integration. It is learning to walk through illusion while staying anchored in truth, to live as a bridge between two realities. Science shows us that the human brain is a prediction machine, constantly projecting patterns onto reality. But awakening disrupts this loop. You are no longer bound to the predictions of your past. You begin to choose differently, to create rather than react. And the more you do this, the more your external world shifts to match the resonance within. What once drained you begins to dissolve. What once felt impossible begins to appear effortlessly. It is not because the old world has changed. It is because you have changed. But make no mistake, walking in two worlds requires vigilance. The pull of illusion is strong. Old habits whisper. Old fears return. The collective current of sleep is powerful, and without awareness, it can sweep you back into forgetting. That is why daily practice matters. Meditation, reflection, breath, silence. These are not luxuries. They are anchors that tether you to the deeper truth, so that no matter how loud the world becomes, you remain aligned. Pause for a moment. Feel this within yourself. You are both human and infinite, both temporary and eternal, both in the world and beyond it. And this duality is not a curse. It is the very gift of your awakening. For by walking in two worlds, you learn how to weave heaven into earth. There comes a moment when you realize that awakening is not about effort. It is not about forcing your will against the current of life. It is about surrender. Not the weak surrender of giving up, but the sacred surrender of opening, of aligning yourself with the intelligence that flows through everything. This is the point where awakening deepens from idea into embodiment. You stop trying to control the river, and instead, you learn to flow with it. At first, surrender feels terrifying. The mind panics at the thought of letting go. It demands certainty, control, guarantees. But awakening shows you that certainty was always an illusion. Control was always a mask for fear. The truth is that life was never against you. It was always moving to bring you closer to yourself. And once you trust this, once you stop grasping, the current begins to carry you to places you could never have imagined. Science offers a glimpse of this. Researchers studying flow states find that the brain actually quiets its sense of self during moments of deep surrender, allowing greater creativity, intuition, and connection. Mystics have known this for centuries, describing it as union with the divine. Both are pointing to the same truth. When you release resistance, you become a vessel for something larger than yourself. Life lives through you, effortlessly, beautifully. This does not mean you become passive. It does not mean you wait for everything to happen without action. It means your action arises from alignment, not from fear. You speak when the words come through clear. You move when the path unfolds before you. You no longer push against closed doors. You trust that what belongs to you will arrive without struggle, and what does not was never meant to be yours. This is the art of surrender, not laziness, but wisdom. The hidden truth is that surrender is freedom. Because when you stop resisting what is, you discover that reality itself is benevolent. Every challenge, every ending, every loss carries within it the seed of transformation. You no longer see obstacles as enemies. You see them as invitations. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But instead, "What is this awakening within me?" And suddenly, the weight you carried dissolves. Life becomes lighter. You begin to live not as a prisoner of circumstance, but as a co-creator with the universe itself. Pause here. Feel the possibility of that. Imagine what would change in your life if you released resistance. If instead of clinging, you trusted. Instead of grasping, you allowed. What if surrender is not the end of control, but the beginning of true power? When surrender deepens, something extraordinary happens. The boundaries of who you think you are begin to dissolve. You no longer feel confined to the skin you wear, the name you carry, the story you tell. You realize that all of these, your past, your roles, your personality, are garments draped upon something far vaster. And for the first time, you catch a glimpse of what lies beneath the infinite self. This moment is unlike anything else. It is not an idea, not a philosophy, but an experience, direct, undeniable, beyond words. It comes as stillness, yet alive with presence. It comes as silence, yet overflowing with truth. You realize that what you call you is not limited, not fragile, not temporary. You are the awareness behind every thought. You are the witness that has watched every rise and fall, every joy and sorrow. You are the canvas upon which the entire play of life unfolds. Neuroscience hints at this in studies of advanced meditators, showing reduced activity in the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for maintaining the illusion of a separate self. Mystics across cultures have spoken of the same state for centuries, calling it samatsamai, enlightenment, union with the divine. Science and spirituality converge here, pointing to the same realizations. The self you thought you were is not the self you are, and here lies the hidden truth. No one tells you awakening is not about becoming superhuman. It is about discovering that you were never merely human to begin with. You are both. The eternal awareness and the temporary form, the drop and the ocean, the dreamer and the dream. This realization shatters fear, because what can be taken from you when you know you are everything? What death can harm you when you know you were never born and can never cease? Yet this truth is not meant to pull you away from life. It is meant to infuse your living with sacredness. When you see yourself as infinite, you no longer rush, compete, or cling. Every breath becomes holy. Every encounter becomes divine. You treat others not as strangers, but as reflections of the same awareness wearing different masks. Life stops being a battlefield. It becomes a dance. Pause here. Let this truth echo in you. You are not your wounds, not your fears, not even your hopes. You are the space in which they all arise and dissolve. You are the light in which every shadow is revealed. And when you rest in this awareness, you realize the journey of awakening was never about finding something outside of you. It was about remembering what you already are. The journey of awakening does not end in the stars. It ends here, in the ordinary, in the breath you are taking right now. For the hidden truth no one tells you is this awakening is not about escaping the world, but about returning to it, transformed. The infinite you discovered is not meant to stay in silence, hidden in meditation, or lost in cosmic vision. It is meant to walk through your hands, your voice, your choices. It is meant to infuse the everyday with the sacred. You begin to see it clearly. The divine is not only in the vast galaxies, but in the way sunlight touches a stranger's face. It is not only in mystical visions, struggles, but because you know the truth. You are not lost when things fall apart. You are not broken when you feel pain. You are not empty when the world feels silent. You walk with the quiet, knowing that every ending carries a beginning. Every wound carries wisdom. Every shadow carries light. You embody the paradox, fragile and eternal, human and divine, wave and ocean. You live as one who remembers. This is what it means to awaken. Not to escape, but to embody. Not to transcend life, but to deepen into it. And though your journey will continue, though the layers will unfold endlessly, you already carry the essence of what you sought. You are the awareness that cannot be destroyed. You are the love that cannot be diminished. You are the truth that has always been and will always be. So walk forward gently, but with courage. Speak your truth not to convince, but to radiate. Let your presence be your teaching. Let your being be your gift. And remember, the awakening is not the end. It is the beginning of living as who you truly are. Pause here. Feel the weight of that, and then let it go like an exhale. Because the truth needs no holding. It simply is. And so are you.